order Oconee County Council meeting, August 20th, 2019. It's approximately 6 p.m. We'll begin with our public comment session. And just, I know we have some new members in the audience. There's not a microphone over there. The microphones are all up top, so you can speak from the podium over there. I have 4 minutes to speak, and I'll hold the 1 minute up when you're at 4 minutes, and then flip it over. That way we don't interrupt you when you talk. So, Ms. Jean Jennings, please.
Mr. Chairman, too, while Ms. Jennings is walking to the podium, could we get a quick motion an emergency motion to appoint Adam Chapman as recording secretary for tonight's meeting?
So moved. Second.
All right. And Ms. Smith is sick, just for any of those in question, just letting you know that. So, all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Ms. Jennings, go ahead.
Good evening, Council. Tonight I'm going to be speaking on two subjects, countywide bus service and the satellite dishes. About the countywide bus service, in a local paper dating 8/1/19, Ms. Janet Hartman with the Oconee Alliance Development did an article on the editorial page titled Addressing the Core Workforce Issue. I'm for bus service when needed. For instance, for Tri-County students, and what Tech needs to probably do is do a survey to see how many students need this. I understand, this may change as Tech expands. If needed, then a grant, would be needed for that. And as I understand, on grants, people can't charge for the services they receive. If a grant was gotten for the countywide service, the people would be some of the people would be riding free of charge. Let me back up. If a grant was gotten for the countywide bus services, the people that would be riding the bus would be riding free of charge. Not only that, but the drugs would be carried more through the county. Not all, but most of the people riding would be doing that all day long, except when they go for free meals at our daily rest in Seneca. Go by sometimes at 11 a.m. and see the people waiting outside. Not all, but a lot of them are young, on their free cell phones, waiting for a free meal, sometimes staying at our daily rest free. They're getting everything free they can. They need to get off their backside, get a job, carpool like I did when I was younger, then save their money, buy a car. I blame a lot of this on this laziness on the parents, government agencies, charities, and even some of the churches. They're making it too easy for these people. I don't agree with Ms. Hartman. I don't think we need a countywide bus service. And for the satellite dishes, I'm talking about these businesses that rent their TV services to other people. And they put up a satellite dish. They dig a hole, put the dish on the metal pole, insert the pole in ground, concrete it in, and a lot of times these people are renting from other people. And then when they move, the dishes are left there for the property owners to move. I've had this situation happen to me several times. I don't know if there could be a county ordinance that maybe these businesses could just rent all their materials like they do their transmitters. And all the materials that when the businesses are left discontinued, then these people come and pick everything up, including the dishes. Because a lot of these dishes, they're cluttering up our county. I mean, no, they're eyesores. Thank you.
Mr. Donnie Sears.
My name is Donnie Sears, and I would like to discuss the problems with the rerouting of Nebo Church Road. As you know, there is or will be construction going on at the airport which affects all property owners along Nebo Church Road. These changes have largely been kept secret. Even the airport manager questioned how I knew about them. I requested a meeting with Amanda Brock. She met me at the airport but didn't care to hear me out. In fact, she was rude. I wanted to show her the road, but right off the bat, she said she wasn't changing anything for me. This isn't about me. It's about all the property owners on Mount Nebo Church Road and the church congregation. There is an alternative route that can be constructed that will benefit everyone since it goes through property which already belongs to the airport. However, the administration is choosing a convenient route to disadvantage the residents and is keeping it quiet for their convenience. More land had to be purchased, and it is my understanding that at least one more house will have to be purchased. The Nebo Church Road has been in the same place for 55 years, since the airport was in operation, and has just become a problem. Or is it just the dirt they could get from the move is needed to fill a hole at the airport at taxpayers' expense of $1.5 million? Is it really a safety issue? I'm disappointed with how this has been handled, and I'm disappointed Oconee County has an administrator who can't be bothered with taxpayers. In Amanda Brock's own words, she said, "I'm not trying to sound like a smart ass," but in fact, she was definition of one. I would like to file a grievance, so please advise me of the proper procedures I need to follow. Thank you.
Mr. Al Schuler.
Over the past several months, I've been thinking about the fundamental causes of most of our problems. I've looked at several different cultures, countries, and civilizations. The underlying problem of all of them has been the same. They have been dominated by a supremacist society. A supremacist is someone who feels that due to their race, color, creed, national origin, or anything else, that they are superior to someone else. Since our founding fathers, America has been a white supremacist nation. My supremacist feelings were brought to my attention 30 years ago. A close friend of mine and a co-worker were discussing prejudice. I told him I felt like I had gotten over all of my prejudice feelings. He laughed and said, "We both still have prejudice feelings. Deep down inside, you wouldn't want your daughter marrying a black man, and I certainly wouldn't want my daughter marrying a white man." I knew he was right. I knew it was right. At some level, I was a supremacist. Today, all
Mr.
of
Schuler,
us,
does this, if I may, does this have anything to do with an agenda item or the county?
it's got something that mentions the council.
Okay. We make sure we stay council, county, something, police, sir?
I say the county council, yes.
Okay.
Today, we're, no matter of our race, color, creed, products of living in a white supremacist nature. The effects of this is on everyone. In the end, the problem is not the county council, Democrats, Republicans, the president, Congress, healthcare, guns, or anything. We can address all of these issues by voting. We are the problem, all of us. The turmoil and violence of our country today is a result of this supremacy. when it comes to politics, I believe the nation, or excuse me, I believe that socialism is the best form of government until you run out of somebody else's money to spend. Then what? The basic problem of white supremacy is that when the number of whites compared to everyone else becomes smaller, we tend to respond with anxiety. This anxiety can result in the violence that we had in El Paso and Dayton. We of all races, colors, and creeds are the answer. Somehow we must put this behind us. Every morning before my feet hit the floor, I ask my Maker, please help me to be a better man today than I was yesterday. Somehow or another, we all need to do the same. Thank you for your indulgence.
Mr. Jerry Barnett, please.
For the record, I'm Jerry Barnett, and most all my ancestors are buried here in Oconee County. I grew up in what was known at the time as the Dark Corner. Now some like to refer to it as the Golden Corner. I'd like to question that. I kind of like the Dark Corner. We were populated by heroes and patriots, the greatest generation. You're going to hear from an individual about homelessness. And it's a very, very serious issue, not just here in Oconee County, nationwide. And a lot of this is of our own, or not the people's making, the government's making. Local government is the villain here. I see these cities putting these stupid signs on perfectly livable dwellings. They may not be pleasing to the eye. Majority of them are structurally sound, and that renders the occupant homeless. We talked a little bit about affordable housing. That's supposed to be discussed in the comp plan. Affordable housing. Affordable to who? It has to be affordable to the occupant and the owner. And when you set artificial standards for what you'd like to see this individual living in, you cripple it, you kill it. It needs to be a personal choice between the individual that he's going to buy that dwelling, build that dwelling, be it a mobile home or what, and we're waging war on mobile homes. That is the ultimate in affordable housing and affordable living. It's all some people can afford. It's high time that we recognize that. And, you know, I'm kind of in tune with what Mr. Schiller's talking about. None of us are better than somebody else. And we've got kind of an us and them situation in the county. People from gated kingdoms seem to think that we should be ruled rather than regulated. Try ruling me. Thank you.
Councilmember comments?
Yes. Mr. Sears, I'd like to apologize to you for the way that you were treated. And I head the Transportation Committee. Our next meeting is October the 1st. And if you would like to bring the problem that you have with your road to that committee, we'll be glad to listen to it. Thank you.
Julian, I have a comment.
Yes, sir, Mr. Elliott.
I received this letter in the mail. It's addressed to Mr. Scott Mulder, Mayor Dan Alexander, Councilman John Elliott. Having moved to this area in 2006, I remember being extremely disheartened when seeing all the vacant storefronts at Seneca's historic downtown. The The small success of Ramcat Alley is evidence of what can happen in a small downtown. But now, as many years have passed, I see little of the revitalization that I'd hoped for. Just this week, I learned that Seneca has managed to acquire 2 large vacant buildings. Finally, after several years, I'm happy now to think that change is indeed coming to Seneca. As a newcomer in 2006, I joined book clubs and became a regular at the Seneca branch of the county library system. Over time, I've heard many library patrons voicing the desire to have a new library. The topic has been raised time and again over the last several years, but no movement by city or county councils. People often say that libraries are becoming obsolete, but it is not truly the case at all. Libraries in the 21st century are going to be less about books and more about the services that library staff provides to their communities. McGill Frickergo of the Center of the Future of Libraries sums it up best when he says, "The library of the future, whether the physical space or its digital resources, can be the place where you put things together, make something new, meet new people, and share what you and others bring to the table. It's peer-to-peer, hands-on, community-based, and creation-focused." Back to the author of the letter, I often wondered how many communities have succeeded in revitalizing blighted areas and discovered that it's possible to apply for state and federal funds to rebuild them. One article described how relocating the public library to downtown center breathed new life into the otherwise flagging downtown. The new library was a wonderful destination in its own right. There are several strategies to rebuild a blighted downtown, but the important one is to create the reason to go downtown at all. In this scenario, a new library would be something new to see and explore, and something that cannot simply close its doors and leave. A new library would not only help our community in its support for education, but also serve as a venue to bring a community together in downtown Seneca. Once there, they can look at what else there is to do. With an abundance of other vacant stores, entrepreneurs could certainly look to downtown as a possible location. I believe the scenario of a downtown library is a unique opportunity looking Oconee County straight in the eye. How often does the city-county get to make a choice that will be much needed, invigorating shot in an arm to an otherwise depressing center city, and also set an example for civic pride and future growth? That was from a citizen in District 1, and I want to applaud Seneca for what they're doing to try to revitalize their downtown, and I'd like for the county to do as much as we can to help with that. I applaud Walhalla for their $5 million project to revitalize Walhalla, and I think we should do whatever we can to help them. I know the city of Seneca will be presenting something shortly to us where they want to revitalize the old school auditorium to use for performing arts. The Arts and Historical Commission is working on that. Also, the Arts and Historical Commission is working to maybe have murals in the town of Westminster, which I think we ought to get involved in also. And hopefully Fair Play will come up with something we can help with also. But I think the movement that started is great, and we should continue partnering with the cities and towns to help any way we can. Thank you.
I do want to give a little clarification to what was mentioned by Ms. Jennings, and you can get a little clarification. The director for Our Day of the Rest is here tonight too, so I'm sure she'd be glad to speak with you and give you a tour of the facility as well, to give some, correct some of the things that you're talking about. There's 2 different things down there. There's Our Daily Rest, which is the shelter that helps people in need and puts people back to work. And there's Our Daily Bread, which is actually the soup kitchen, which is the noon feed time area, 11 to 12. Both of those things do a great mission for Oconee County. They help out a lot and put people back to work. And, so from a standpoint of criticizing, 2 things that you don't know about, I want to help educate you. And I know both of those organizations, I'll have them reach out to you to kind of help you understand what they're trying to do. and maybe you have some ideas that they can do some things better on there. Putting people back to work is an important part of the future of Oconee County. And I know our daily rest is not just a free place to sleep. I invite you to meet Ms. Lauren Richardson. If you'll raise your hand right there, she'll be glad to speak with you and kind of give you a little bit, maybe some things that you can offer to her and some things over there. And I appreciate that, but just want that out there. So those are two great organizations. Oconee County is very blessed in the community that reaches out to help people for their in all needs. And Mr. Barnett, you bring up a very valid point on talking about housing and different things like that. And it is important. Workforce housing, I hear that said a lot, and the definition of that, I agree with you. So those are the things that we have to look at is what the state helps with housing, what we consider workforce housing, and what is affordable housing. So those are some things that we have. Was brought up, Mr. Sears, about a grievance. Any council member you can deliver that to. That's anytime there's an issue up there, that's the way to address it on there. As speaking per Nebo Church Road, there's some other information that'll come out about that. The FAA kind of says that there's some issues out there. Those are some things that we try to address out there. So we'll continue to work forth with that. So any other council member comments at this time?
Did I ask you a question?
No, sir. No, sir. Any other council member comments? Okay. We'll go to a moment of silence. I want to remember some the death that we had on Lake Kiwi and some other things that have affected our community. Oconee County has had some community members that have passed on. Mr. Trapper Freeman is one in my district that reached out to a lot of people, did a lot of good for the kids in my area. And I want to make it a point that if you as a council member would like to bring somebody up during that moment of silence to remember them that passed away in your district or somebody close to you that made a difference in this county, that during these moments of silence before we go that we bring those names forward. So at this time we'll move into a moment of silence. Thank you. Mr. Reed, please.
Yes, sir. Please pray with me if you'd like to. Father, joining in what Chairman Davis said, we just want to come together and pray for the families that are left behind from those who have passed on, to give them comfort like only you can through individuals and through your Spirit. And also to celebrate the life that you've given us, that we are living right now, that we wouldn't look too far forward or regret too much in the past, but that we live and enjoy each moment, and help us to do that, to be appreciative of each moment for your sustaining power, for the air that you give us to breathe, the bodies you give us to function with, that you hold them together by your word, that you hold this universe together by your word, and it's amazing. Thank you for that. And if we can get that perspective, a more global, a perspective that a bit of what you have, maybe we can come together. Maybe we can learn to listen better to one another, to be quicker to do that, slower to speak. Perhaps we can learn to look at issues from others' perspective. I know I'm slow to do that, but I pray that you give us those eyes to see, and perhaps then we can bridge some of these gaps that divide us, some of the walls that are barriers in between both sides of any issue, that we wouldn't be entrenched and antagonistic, but that your love would prevail, that we could move this county forward in a direction that is good for all. It's in your name I pray. Amen.
Mr. Hart, if you'll lead us in the pledge, please.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, sir. Approval of minutes, July 16, 2019. Do I have a motion?
Make a motion.
Any changes? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Ms. Brock?
Good evening, council. Thank you. I see a couple new faces here. Thank you all for joining us as well. Do have one matter of housekeeping here. I need to remove the update on the crime data for the county. I had not relayed to Ms. Smith in time to remove this from the agenda. Sheriff Crenshaw's son is being moved into the University of South Carolina this evening, and he'll be presenting that on September 3rd with council approval. Also, Mr. Hart, on September 3rd, we will be discussing the application for the grant for the FAA relocation of Mount Nebo Church Road. That will be on September 3rd. The October meeting for the Transportation Committee will be past the deadline for us to apply for that grant. So we can bring that matter up at the Real Estate Committee. Mr. Davis has the meeting that evening. If you would be okay for us to discuss that project as a whole on the Real Estate Committee, that way we would be before the deadline, but still could discuss it very publicly in depth, and it will also be on the agenda on that evening for council approval.
When is this?
That is September the 3rd at 4:30.
You want to tell Mr. Sears?
Mr. Sears, it's September the 3rd at 4:30. There'll be a committee meeting, and then at 6 p.m. it will be on the council agenda for full approval. And it's a grant, so the engineering has not been approved yet. This is just a process of us getting a grant to do that. And we do have quite a lengthy agenda this evening, so I'll keep my words brief. And again, thank you all. And it's a long agenda because we only had the one meeting in July and the one meeting here in August, and we'll go back to our normal schedule again in September.
Any questions on the administrator? No? So we'll move on. Presentation, 2019 SE State of Homelessness Report. Y'all have the floor.
Thank you. Thank you, Councilman Davis. I appreciate the opportunity. I know we don't have much time, so I may fly through these. If you have questions after, I'm glad to answer them, but I don't want to belabor folks' time. Just want to get to the important information. Let's see. So the Upstate Continuum of Care. Let me just tell you a little bit about our credibility. My name is Lorraine Crowell again. I am the Executive Director of United Housing Connections, and we are the lead agency for what's called the Continuum of Care. And what that is a HUD-mandated consortium of agencies that come together to make homelessness brief, rare, and non-recurring. And so what we do is clearly work on a continuum of folks who may be at risk for homelessness and carry those folks all the way through even to home ownership. And so that's our goal, is to make sure that people are moving from poverty and from hopelessness to home. That's literally our goal. And so we're a collaborative of about 80 agencies across, again, the 13 counties up in the upstate, and we'll see what that looks like. Let's see, maybe I'll point it that way. There we go. All right, so historically, we've been doing these point-in-time counts and these homelessness counts of individuals for a lot of years. What's different this year is we've been charged as a continuum lead to do a statewide report. So that looks like more data than just the point-in-time count, a one-time count. So we're using other data sources this time. So I'll show you what those look like. That way. All right. So the South Carolina Interagency Council on Homelessness is the one that has charged us with creating this report. And so what we're looking at right now is the structure of the report is the total population of South Carolina, and that's through census, the capacity of inventory, that's how many beds we have across South Carolina that can provide help for the homeless population. Continuum of care specific narratives are in this report as well. What that means is we have 4 continuums across the state, and so every single continuum has a very narrow snapshot of what their community looks like, and that's in this report. It's over 100 pages, so we're not going through 100 pages. This is what the continuums look like. If you'll see up in the top corner, that Oconee County is the beginning of our continuum, and we go through Lawrence and then Edgefield and up through Cherokee. There are 3 other continuums across the state. Our data sources, these are just a lot of HUD acronyms, but I'll share, with you what they mean. The AHAR is the Annual Homelessness Assessment Report. Every organization does one of those that is a member of HMIS. We have the PIT count, or the point in time count. That's that one night in January of how many folks are presented as homeless at that particular point in time. The U.S. Census also takes some information about folks that are experiencing homelessness. The McKinney-Vento data is school data. That's where we have representatives all across South Carolina in the schools actually looking at how many children are represented as homeless during the school year. The HIT count, again, is the housing inventory count across the state. And then system performance measures are measures that HUD systematically, at all the continuums, take a look at and measure over the course of service delivery. So for this presentation, we're only going to look at these four: PIT, U.S. Census, McKinney-Vento, and HIT. In the population, we look at the PIT count, and if you'll see statewide, we're trending just ticking up just a little bit in the unsheltered, or the total count, and then in the sheltered count, we're about even, maybe down just a few, but look at the unsheltered count. That's continuing to rise. So that's the thing that as a continuum we're looking at. Why are we having an increase in unsheltered people experiencing homelessness across the state? Okay. All right. So this is the upstate. This is that 13 county area that we were talking about. Even in our continuum, what I want you to know here is that we have had the largest increase across all sectors of South Carolina, the upstate. And so we're up about 239 folks in across our continuum. Oh. All right. So the upstate, the continuum of care, if you look at the number of, this sort of breaks it out as unsheltered, sheltered, how many veterans we have in the area, and how many folks are chronically homeless. Chronically homeless means that they have experienced a year or more, or four continuous episodes across a 2-year period of being homeless. And so if you'll see in each one of these sections, the thing that to call out is how much the upstate is housing homeless folks, helping homeless folks above the other continuums across the state. All right, and this is the top 10, the numbers for the top 10 of the count for the homeless population in the PIT. If you'll see, Richland County is at the top, and basically that's because of their unsheltered count. Greenville is third, but if you look here, takes it just a second. Oconee is 11. So we, just in that one slice, that point in time count, and that one day in January, there were 70 folks identified as homeless in Oconee County. 35 were unsheltered, that means they had no nighttime residence, and 35 were sheltered, which means that they were in some sort of emergency shelter situation. And this is the 2019 PIT demographics for the subpopulations in Oconee County. So out of that number, there are 15 to 16 sheltered and unsheltered folks in the chronically homeless area. We only represented 2 veterans in that area. And remember, this is a one-night shot. This isn't what we've measured over time. And then adult survivors of domestic violence. We see this going up dramatically. This is not just in Oconee County, but across the board. This is census data. Now, when we look at census data, we're not looking at the same populations. Census takes the census of every person they can count in the state. The upstate continuum only counts what's in its database. So that's why you're going to see these numbers drastically different. So for the median age in the Oconee PIT count, there were 36, the median age was 36 years old. For the census, the median age for those that were experiencing homelessness were 45. And this is just breaks it down by ethnicity and race. If you'll see that the important number here is that look at the big difference between the way the census reports their data over their broad scale and the very narrow group of folks that we're looking at with our data. So 52% of the folks that are in your area in Oconee County are typically white, but represent as experiencing homelessness. McKinney-Vento, this is going to be a little bit shocking here, guys. This was for us. Look at the number of students that are experiencing homelessness in the upstate of South Carolina. 5,782 students. 5,782 students. Okay, so if you look across the board at the unsheltered count and the folks who are in transitional housing, awaiting foster care, those who are doubled up or in hotels and motels, look at those who are doubled up. 3,595 in the upstate. And we have the majority out of 12,600 statewide. The upstate counts 5,700 children that are homeless. We have to do something about that. Okay, and here's the worst part about it. If you look at kindergarten through grade 5, over 3,000 of them are in that category. So when those folks talk about generational poverty and coming up and people saying things like, guys, you all just need to get a job. I'm going to get on my soapbox a little bit here. When you're raised in a situation where your family's been raised in a car your whole life, or in a trailer without power, that's what you know. So it's up to folks like us to help get those folks out of that situation. I wasn't born Lorraine Crowell, executive director. And so it's my job, it's our job as a community, I believe, to help these people, particularly these children, come out of this situation. So if we look at McKinney-Vento numbers by grade, again, we just look across the board at the number of kindergarten through K-5 that are experiencing homelessness. Look at what happens when you're in poverty. If your English score is 47%, and for all students, that's the average. If you're a pupil in poverty, that drops to 32%. If you're experiencing homelessness and living in your car, imagine reading a book at dark in the night. How are you gonna learn to read if you're living in a car? So the proficiency in English and math over time, these children just really have no opportunity. So let's talk about takeaways here, and we're almost done. So statewide, we're 472 folks experiencing homelessness. That's 230 persons up from last year. The upstate COC was up 216 people. We are also the largest total in the across South Carolina for experiencing homelessness. The COC had the highest PIT count by 186 more than Mock, which is down toward the coast. 321 chronically homeless persons counted in the upstate, and then Oconee County counted 70, or 16 chronically homeless individuals, again, just on one night. Comparisons to the census. If we look at what the census is telling us versus what we know, the population in Oconee County tends to be younger than what's reported, and also overly represented in homelessness, people experiencing homelessness who are white or Caucasian. And then the McKinney-Vento data, we've gone over that, but that's one of the biggest takeaways. If we can do anything about these statistics with school data, we need to do that as a community. Capacity and inventory. So this is the total number of beds that we have, 1,606 beds in our continuum, and this is what it looks like. Emergency shelter, permanent housing, transitional housing, and what we call rapid rehousing. Anybody wants to talk about those definitions afterwards, I'm happy to do that. Statewide supply versus demand. We have 1,855 total beds in our housing inventory count. But look at the number of people who need beds, 3,310. So we got a little work to do. Are persons receiving shelter services from the local area? This is an interesting thing. People saying, there's homeless people coming from all over the state, all over the county, all over the United States to South Carolina. They're really not. For all that we've looked at, the concentration of population there, 90% of those people, 90% of the people we serve are in South Carolina. These other little dots that you see are some who have reported outside the area that have come to here. But generally, we're serving our own people. This is a system for performance analysis that we did. 824 participants in the coordinated entry system. That's our system for taking in folks who are experiencing homelessness. 500 of those folks came from Greenville County. If you look at Tri-County, 124. Tri-County was the third largest area that we were serving. And ironically, the intake process, most folks coming through that process are African American women, single African American women who are generally the head of household, taking care of children. Key solutions to making homelessness brief and rare. We need to increase rapid rehousing and our housing inventory. I heard that talked about a lot. And it's not just affordable housing, it's housing that people can afford. I loved your comment about how we are being very judgmental about how people are housed. As long as it's safe, as long as they have running water and they are a contributor in their community, what is the problem? Because it's very rare that people can afford. The average rent for here is somewhere around $775 a month for a one-bedroom apartment. In Greenville, it's about $1,400. So how do we afford that unless we make some changes? We need to create continual move-on strategies that work to promote people to independence. You know, that we talk about that thing about not fishing for people, but teaching them how to fish. That's what a move-on strategy does. And then we talk about creating or developing upstream solutions to prevent homelessness. Let's start over here and keep them from being homeless. Let's try that. But HUD doesn't want to try that. Don't tell anybody I said that. So we have to do that in our community. We have to do that together. All right. If you'd like the full report for the entire state, I apologize, probably some water. I think I'm yelling. Then this is where to go, upstatecoc.org/data. Austin Barrett is our data analyst, and I think the county has this PowerPoint if you all would like to have it. And then this is my contact information. I think. Yeah. All right. If you'd like, I can entertain questions or.
Yeah. And those questions from council will be fine if there's a question or comment from council side of things.
Thank you for your time.
All right. We'll move on to public hearing, ordinance 2019-17. Ordinance to authorize the conveyance of easement rights to American Legion Department of South Carolina, Post 124, for the purpose of providing ingress, egress, and vehicular parking on certain county-owned property and other matters related thereto. No one has signed up for the public hearing. If you'd like to come forward to speak on ordinance 2019-17, you can come forward. Written comments can be delivered to Mr. Chapman. Move to close public hearing, ordinance 2019-17 at this time. We'll do third reading on ordinance 2019-17, which is the public hearing that we just held for the American Legion Post 124. Do I have a motion to approve the third reading?
So moved. Second.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Do we have a second reading on the following ordinance? Ordinance 2019-18. Ordinance authorizing the execution and delivery of real property lease agreement between Oconee County as lessor and Tri-County Development Corporation as lessee for certain real property located at 104 Brown Square Drive. Do I have a motion to approve?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Second reading, ordinance 2019-19, ordinance authorizing the conveyance of easement of rights for the purpose of utility construction at the Oconee Industry and Technology Park located off Highway 11. Do I have a motion to approve second reading?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
For first reading on ordinance 2019, I will refer at this time to Mr. Root for ordinance 2019-20.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, if I may, I need a motion to postpone ordinance 2019-20, first reading. We're working up, this ordinance and this deal is an outgrowth of one company purchasing property from another, both run under a free agreement. So we're making sure the kind of the architecture of that deal is set before we get the documents in place. So we want to postpone that until the 3rd if we could.
Do I have said motion?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor? Any opposed? Ordinance 2019-21, ordinance authorizing the execution and delivery of an amended fee agreement between Oconee County and ACI Plastics LLC. Mr. Root?
You'll notice in your backup material the absence of materials for this item. We just need to proceed with this in title only tonight if we could. The essence of this deal is that ACI is bringing in affiliates and increasing their investment and jobs. So we want to keep this moving. We'll have the backup materials being the amended fee agreement and ordinance document for second reading on the 3rd.
So that would be a motion to approve in title only ordinance 2019-21.
Yes, sir. Moved. Second.
Any discussion or concerns from council? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? All right, we don't have any first and final readings. We do have a discussion action items, engineering services for groundwater monitoring and reporting, solid waste amount estimated at $65,000. It's the staff's recommendation that council, one, approve the award of estimated $65,000 to Smith Garner Incorporated of Raleigh, North Carolina for engineering services for groundwater monitoring and reporting, and two, authorize the county administrator to renew the engineering services for groundwater sampling and reporting for the remaining 2 years under the RFP 16-09 contract as long as all work is deemed satisfactory. Do I have a motion to approve?
Make a motion.
Second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. We have Hyundai HX 300L excavator for solid waste. The project cost is $216,567. Staff's recommendation that council approve the purchase of the Hyundai excavator from National Equipment Dealers, Columbia, South Carolina, in the amount of $216,567. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay. Have an action item for a fuel truck lease for the airport. It's $18,000 for 1 year. The staff's recommendation that council, one, approve and authorize the execution of an equipment lease agreement with Titan Aviation Fuels for an aviation refueling truck for Oconee County Regional Airport. And two, authorize the county administrator to renew the lease for up to 4 1-year period at $18,000 a year, provided their service is satisfactory. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay. We have a request to authorize and direct negotiations and the execution of negotiated contracts with construction professionals for the repair of the fire damaged portions of the Oconee County Law Enforcement Center, which provides an exemption from various competitive bid procurement methods upon council approval. Staff requests council approve direct negotiations and contracting with construction professionals, including those who participated in providing data to assist in resolving the claim so as to expedite the long-awaited repairs to the OLEC and to minimize dissemination of the security-sensitive design materials. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay. We have action item Hitachi ZW 550, it's a six-wheel loader for the rock quarry. The project cost is $629,810. It will be used for pit loading, haul trucks, and transport crushed rocks from the jaw crusher for the new plant that has, part of it has been delivered. It's staff recommendation that council approve the purchase of the six-wheel loader from National Equipment Dealers of Columbia, South Carolina, in the amount of $629,810. And that amount is in the budget.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Do I have said motion?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? We have the 2019 Edward Byrne Memorial JAG Grant notification. Oconee County Sheriff's Department may receive an allocation of $12,944 from the Bureau of Justice Assistance. This grant program requires a notification of intent be made available for county council and the public to review and comment on the proposed use of the funds. The Oconee County Sheriff's Department plans to use these funds for this program to purchase 2 sniper rifles and optical equipment. Do I have a motion to apply for the grant, correct?
And give notification of
Give
our
notification.
application, yes, sir.
So moved. Second.
Second.
Any discussion?
Yeah,
Yes, sir.
I don't see that on here for the sniper rifles.
This is the updated one.
Okay,
Right here.
okay. I just wondered, I thought.
Yes, sir.
What's going on?
Will you get him a new one?
Yes, sir.
That one came in right at the end of the change.
They're in the green.
Okay, I got you, thank you.
Yes, sir.
We have a motion and a second. Any other discussion with that? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay. I have an action item, funding commitment for infrastructure improvements at Seneca Rail Park, up to $327,000. Oconee County owns Seneca Rail Park, a 111-acre industrial park located along Shallow Road. The sewer and water lines run the edge of the property. There's currently no water or sewer within the park. City of Seneca commissioned a master plan to get needed water and sewer into this park, and the plan included 2 phases. Estimated construction cost for phase 1 is $827,712, which includes engineering, design, permitting, and construction of water and gravity sewer lines. Oconee County and Oconee Economic Alliance has been awarded the South Carolina Rural Infrastructure Authority fiscal year 19 Economic Infrastructure Grant for $500,000 to offset the cost of construction of the critical water and sewer infrastructure of this park. It's staff's recommendation that council approve the commitment of the remaining balance funds up to $327,712 for the Seneca Rail Park water line and sewer infrastructure project. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion?
Yeah, where did the 327, and it was 260 something, what caused that to come up?
Mr. Hart, if I may, the increase in that there were costs associated with the project that did not meet the specific parameters of the grant requirement. Part of that is included in the very next agenda item action as well. The $95,000 in sole source is a portion of the increase that we're asking for in this previous agenda item. The increase that we faced was $64,420 because certain costs associated with the engineering and site work were not eligible for grant reimbursement.
Any other discussion? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay. Engineering services for Seneca Rail Infrastructure, Economic Development Fund, $95,500. Goodwin Mills K. Wood has been working with the City of Seneca for 5 years. City of Seneca instructed and paid Goodwin Mills K. Wood to complete the initial study for infrastructure at Seneca Rail Site and completed the Norfolk Southern encroachment permitting needed to bore under the railroad. Goodwin Mills K. Wood assisted the county in preparing the grant application to RIA for this infrastructure project. The county was awarded the grant of $500,000 due to Goodwin Mills K. Wood expertise and assistance in providing all supported documentation. It's staff's recommendation that council approve the sole source award for engineering services for Seneca Rail Infrastructure to Goodwin Mills and K. Wood in the amount of $95,500. Have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion?
If I may, please, just
Yes,
as a
ma'am.
reiteration, this 95,000 is part of the 327 that was just previously approved, so it's not in addition to.
Council clear on that? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Action item, direct staff to investigate and as appropriate, initiate discussions with the Corps of Engineers for a lease agreement in relation to a public access area, boat ramp adjacent to property commonly known as Lakeside Lodge, with the lease area to be subleased for maintenance and operation by Lakeside Lodge and Clemson Family Investors LLC or an appropriate affiliate. Just for clarification, this is direct staff to investigate and initiate discussions.
So moved.
Second.
Any other discussions? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. On council committee reports, at this time, we don't have those, so if council's okay to move forward with that on the next meeting, unless Mr. McCall wants to bring forth his, just leave those, okay, for time. Building codes appeal, we still have an at-large seat. That at-large seat's supposed to be a architect. That is seeming to be hard to find in Oconee County, so we do need if you got a friend that's one or retired, we'll take those as well. That finishes out any other commission and appointments on there. No unfinished business. Is there any new business to be brought forth? Here none. I need a motion to move into an executive session for 1, discussion regarding economic development matter project Aztec. 2, economic development matter project Trout. 3, receive legal advice and discuss contractual matter related to land development. 4, internal review procedures and personnel matters related to departments. 5, to discuss employment and personnel matters related to the county's information technology staff, including their scope of responsibilities and duties. Do I have a motion?
Make a motion.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All in favor? No action was taken in executive session. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
Make a motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.